Ambush at the Pokemon Tower. Our heroes find themselves at the Pokemon Tower, where restless spirits of Pokemon linger. A cold wind rushes past as they enter the misty tower, as if warning them to stay away.
The fog's coming in, and that can't be good. We better be really careful.
Let's not stay here any longer than we have to.
Hello there? Anybody home?
Hi everyone, it's me, Diana, the Doll Fairy. Welcome back to my channel. Tonight I'm coming to you from the Pokemon Tower in Lavender Town in the Kanto region. What am I doing here? Well, I'm hoping to encounter some ghost Pokemon, of course. I'm joined by a couple of my Pokemon trainer friends who are collaborating with me on today's ghost hunting mission. Kat, who you'll recognize from her channel, MagicalGirlKitKat.
Hey everyone, it's MagicalGirlKitKat.
And Lavily from her channel, LAVILYDAY.
Hi everyone.
Tonight we're each scouting out different levels of the 7-story Pokemon Tower, which houses the graves of fallen Pokemon. It's a place where many trainers come to pay their respects. However, it can be a bit treacherous on all floors except for the first two, because on those floors, wild Pokemon may jump out and attack you. Many trainers have cited Ghastly, Haunter, and Cubone throughout the upper levels of the tower, but who knows what we may encounter here tonight. What's your position, Kat?
I'm currently staking out the 4th floor. It's eerily quiet. I keep feeling like there's something watching me.
And Lavily, you're on level 5, right? Have you seen anything out of the ordinary yet?
I keep seeing shadowy shapes in the corner of my eye, but they disappear when I turn to look at them. Nothing's certain yet.
Copy that. I'll be taking a look at the 6th floor. A channeler I spoke with earlier told me that she had been feeling the presence of a female ghost on this floor for quite some time now. Visitors have also reported feeling sudden gusts of cold, like frosty breath breathing down the back of their neck. So I'm going to see if I can find any trace of this mystery ghost Pokemon that seems to bring cold drafts in its wake. I actually did some voice recording earlier to see if I could catch any EVPs.
Oh, no, not EVs, EVPs.
Or electronic voice phenomena, which is a fancy way of saying a supernatural recording that you can hear on playback. And I think I might have gotten something. Take a listen.
If there are any spirits of Pokemon in our midst, make yourself known.
Oh, did you guys hear that?
Oh my gosh.
That's incredible.
There's definitely something here. I can feel it. I'll check back in with you guys in a bit to let you know if I found anything.
Did you recognize that cry? If you thought it was Froslass, you were correct. Today we're making a custom smart doll inspired by the ghost and ice type Pokemon, Froslass. I'm using an F6 sculpt smart doll head in cinnamon, which is used for Kizuna, Kanata, and Challenge. Because Froslass has this fang-like shape to its mouth structure, I decided I would use this vampire prototype smart doll called Halloween Candidate as a reference for her mouth, and an inspiration for her eye shape as well. After spraying the vinyl head with 3 layers of Mr. Super Clear, outside with my respirator mask on to protect my lungs, I get to work sketching the features with a light brown watercolor pencil. For the eyelashes, I'm going with sharp, spindly points, similar to the inspiration, to add a sense of drama. I add a pretty prominent line to indicate that her eyes are half-lidded and serene. As always, the eyebrow placement is a little tricky. I want her expression to come off as somewhat aloof, confident, with just a hint of sass, I think. I like how the sharp eyelashes make her seem elegant. I purposely don't have any of the lashes facing upward because of the downturned shape of Froslass's eyes in her design. I'm trying to translate that shape and overall look into my design here in a subtle way. The mouth really intimidated me, and I was afraid I wouldn't be able to achieve that very intricate open mouth look with a fang clearly indicated. I started out with the smiling corners of the mouth and went very slowly to make sure the shape was symmetrical and looked natural on the sculpted mouth shape. When I'm happy with the initial layout of the features, I use a darker brown to define the shapes more fully and add some opacity to the lines. With a white pencil, I start to fill in the top of the mouth to indicate the teeth. It's hard to see because it was too close up to film properly, but I also added in 2 triangles for her fangs. The original inspiration only had the indication of 1 fang, but I decided to go for both. The tips of my pencils had to be sharpened to such a narrow point for this. I used pink and some of the light brown to fill in the rest of the mouth and add some shading so it feels more 3-dimensional. As I've mentioned in previous Smart Doll face-ups I've done, I really prefer my dolls to have visible pink for their lips. I brush on chalk pastels on the top and bottom of her mouth for her lip makeup, and also give her some subtle blushing on her cheeks. To harken back to Froslass's design and the circular cutouts around her eyes, with the purple showing through underneath, I'm giving her some deep purple eyeshadow. I considered giving her much more intense makeup, but ultimately I decided to keep it a little simple so that this head can still be flexible and remain a part of my collection as a cute vampire girl. I'm happy with the first layer, so I spray a new layer of Mr. Super Clear and wait for it to dry before continuing with a darker brown to reinforce all of the lines I've already drawn. Now that we have the foundation of the features down, the rest of the face-up is a lot easier. I will be working on building up the dark browns in the lines and leading up to black for the eyelashes. I also layer color onto the mouth as well to give it as much depth as possible by shading with brown on top of the pink. After another spray, I introduce black into the eyelashes. For the eyelid creases and the outline of the mouth, I stick with dark brown rather than black. I'm really liking the effect of the deeper magenta pastels for her lip color. She's looking pretty good now. At this point, I was really loving her vampire look. Plus, it was Halloween, so I gave her some yellow eyes and this ombre wig from Zazu Dolls. I went outside and made an Onami Reel/YouTube short introducing her as a schoolgirl vampire named Natasha. That was fun, but now it's back to Froslass. The Pokemon's eyes have blue irises with yellow for the sclera. I'm going to make eyes for her this time by drawing and coloring them myself on paper and gluing glass domes onto them to create follow me style eyes. I made a few mistakes here. First of all, even though I spent a long time shading these eyes nicely, I used watercolor pencils to color them because they were already out from when I did the face up. Probably not a great idea when I know I will have to brush glue onto them later and I might end up smudging the colors. Then, when I was gluing on the domes with Mod Podge, there was a weird air bubble on one of them, and when I tried to remove that by lifting the dome off the paper and replacing it, that was not a smart idea. It just ripped the paper and completely destroyed the eye. For the eye that did survive, it looks alright, but I can tell that the colors blended together too much from the glue. I started over, this time giving the eyes a less saturated look and slightly narrower irises. I was much more careful about gluing them this time, and the finished eyes looked pretty nice. Now for the clothing. Froslass's body is clearly designed to resemble a kimono, and her Pokédex entries and lore make it clear that she was inspired by Yuki Onna, a spirit from Japanese folklore who looks like a beautiful woman but lures men into the snowy mountains to devour them. With this in mind, my Froslass doll will get a formal kimono, furisode to be exact, with long flowing sleeves. I will be using this smooth white polyester fabric which feels a bit like silk for the main body of the kimono. A prominent feature in Froslass's design is the red bow around her middle, so of course the obi will be in this striking textured red satin. For accents such as the collar and some details later on, this stretchy taffeta is a really unique texture and the perfect subtle turquoise color. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do with this iridescent fabric, but I'd like to incorporate it somehow because it evokes an icy, magical feeling for me. For the main kimono, I'm using Requiem Art's kimono pattern. It's really simple to follow and has options for the shorter yukata sleeves or the long furisode sleeves, which I'll be using this time. I've used the yukata variation of the pattern a bunch of times before, so I'm familiar with the construction. This pattern also utilizes an inner lining layer. For both the liner and the main kimono, I'm using the serger on all of the edges and seams to make this a really high quality garment. Here's the white outer collar, which matches the kimono. And the contrasting inner collar will be made from the turquoise blue fabric. Again, I highly recommend using this pattern. It's looking really nice. For the obi, however, I decided I wanted to make a real functioning obi that would be tied in the back. Since the Requiem Art pattern has an obi that's more like a corset with a closure in the back, I decided to use the obi pattern that is available for free on the Culture Japan website. I did make it wider to suit my purposes, but the length was right for actually tying a bow in the back. Once sewn, it's basically just a long tube. I tried to use my loop turner to turn it right side out, but the fabric was too thick for that to work, so I just did it the old-fashioned way. I hand-stitched up the ends of the long sash. Now I have to determine how I will decorate the kimono. Froslass has this turquoise geometric pattern on the edges of its sleeves, so to speak, so I spent a lot of time contemplating what I would do for something that's equivalent to that accent. I considered actually painting or drawing patterns onto the fabric with ink or paints, but after studying references of actual traditional kimono and Japanese art, I knew that I wouldn't be able to imitate it well enough. I thought of creating line sketches with pens, and I did some sketches to try out different patterns and motifs, but I wasn't really satisfied with any of my attempts. Then I thought I'd be true to my roots and reputation as a doll customizer and try lace instead. I had been saving this gorgeous metallic lace trim for a couple of years. Because of the pattern and the metallic sheen, it has an icy sort of feel to it, rather than giving off vintagey Lolita vibes that would clash with my vision. I considered putting some of this iridescent blue organza between the lace and the kimono because I felt the need for some blue. However, I realized it was too flashy, so I decided to go with the turquoise taffeta that I had used for the collar. In fact, while we're at it, I'm going to add a different lace trim to the bottom edge of the lining layer that will peek out underneath. This lace looks a bit to me like frost, and as it peeks out at the bottom and drags onto the floor a bit, it will look like the doll is spreading frost wherever she steps, kind of like Elsa. I'll use more of this same lace to create skin-tight, glove-like sleeves for her arms. This again makes it look almost as if frost is spreading down her arm and creating a pretty pattern on her wrists and hands. These will merely peek out underneath the huge furisode sleeves, but I think it will have a big impact. For the trim, I'm going to have to stitch the lace onto the fabric, then carefully cut out the shapes so that no raw edges are visible, and then apply fray check so that the edges stay clean and intact. It turned out I had just enough of this trim to line the bottoms of the sleeves and the bottom edge of the kimono. Talk about cutting it close. I carefully hand-stitched each piece in place. Next, I finally conquered my laziness enough to take out the ironing board and use the real iron to smooth out the piece instead of the pink mini iron that I usually use, because that's not really effective enough for a project like this. Now tying the obi. I decided to try to be as accurate as possible, so I found a super helpful video tutorial for how to tie an obi, thanks to Billy Matsunaga on YouTube. I'm linking her videos in the description below, since her channel was extremely helpful to me throughout the process of making the whole kimono as well as the footwear, which we'll get to in a bit. I really like how even the act of putting on the various pieces of this clothing is done in a specific, mindful manner, slowly and deliberately. I did my best to replicate this on a doll scale. After a lot of fluffing out the bow, tucking, twisting, and manipulating the fabric, I have this bow, which I think looks quite lovely. I turn it around to the back and smooth out the wrinkles. I'll be adding some more details later, but for now, let's get to the footwear. After doing quite a bit of research on the types of shoes worn with kimono, I decided to make a pair of sandals called zori for my doll. According to JapanObjects.com, another helpful resource, grass-woven zori were originally flat, but modern zori, particularly the formal type worn on special occasions with elaborate kimono outfits, tend to have a thick base, which is often slanted to create a high heel effect. We'll start with the socks. The socks worn with zori are known as tabi and are usually characterized by an indentation between the big toe and the others. This won't be possible to achieve on a smart doll foot where all the toes are connected, but I think we can still get that kind of visual effect with the V shape of the straps. For the shoes themselves, I use a more rounded version of the sandal sole pattern I made for myself a while back, and cut the pieces out of craft foam. For the top layer of the sole, I use a light peachy color so that it will blend in with this woven ribbon I will glue on top of it. This will create the illusion that the sandal is woven from organic materials. The bottom layer of the sole is black, and in between the two layers, I am sandwiching half of a third layer toward the heel. When all three pieces are glued together, the base of the shoe will have a bit of a slope, like typical modern zori have to create a slight high heel effect. I use ribbon for the straps and stitch them onto the foam with needle and thread to make sure the connection is sturdy. I tuck the ends of the ribbon between the foam layers and glue them there to finish the straps. To bring it all together, I glue narrow black ribbon all the way around the edges of the sandals for a clean finish. These are pretty simple, but I think they look really good. Now let me show you her hair. I ordered this gorgeous ombre wig from Dallas Doll Co. called Tidal Crush, which starts in turquoise and has ends dyed purple. The colors are absolutely gorgeous and perfectly represent the color scheme of Froslass. Not only are the curls very elegant, but the wig also adds a much needed element of purple to the overall design. Froslass has ice crystals on its head, so I'm going to add some crystals to my design as well. These crystal beads are really gorgeous. I also decided to add a veil to the top of her head for a few reasons. First, in Froslass's design, the parts of her that look like arms are actually attached to her head and come down on either side of her face, which looks kind of like some kind of a veil. Second, this gauzy sheer material looks floaty and ethereal, which I think really adds a ghostly element to her otherwise earthly ensemble. I originally wanted to give her clusters of crystals, but I later decided on just one single point on each side, like the Pokemon's original design. I considered making a crystal crown, but I already did this for my doll Fable and I felt like that would be too repetitive. Instead, I stitched the purple crystal onto the veil. Then, for the points on her head, I wrap wire around each bead, leaving long ends. By poking the ends of the wire through the wig cap, I'm able to keep both the crystals and the veil beneath it securely in place on the head. I situate the ends of the wires securely in the wig cap underneath so that the ends won't scratch the vinyl of her head cap. Next, let's get to the final details of the kimono ensemble. I'm using a strip of this iridescent fabric to create the little sash that is worn at the top of the obi, which is called the obiage. Again, I do my best to actually fold and tie this according to the proper methods, which again, there are videos in the description which I used. For this one, I'm not sure I got the knot quite right, but again, there's only so much accuracy one can achieve in doll scale. And the last component we will be adding is the obijime, for which I will use this gorgeous woven ribbon. This is a much narrower edition that goes in the center of the obi, but I also followed the exact instructions for how to tie this properly as well. Once the knot is finished, the ends get tucked in, but they have to be facing up in order to follow the proper protocol. Never would have known that. I turn the knot to the back so we have a nice straight line in front, and smooth out the wrinkles with my tweezers. Lastly, I considered adding this snowflake as the obijime, which is a decorative element slid onto the obijime. But I thought it looked too large and too plasticky, so I decided to leave it out. And now, this icy ghoul is all ready for her big reveal.
Hey guys, it's me again. I was just walking through this hallway here in the tower when suddenly I felt like an icy gust of wind just hit me from behind. It just came completely out of nowhere.
Maybe you should get out of there, Diana.
I keep trying to see if I can... What's that? What are you?
Diana, put on the silk scope I gave you.
Right, okay. Quick! Whoa. Are you all seeing this? Oh my gosh, that was Froslass. I've heard so many legends about this Pokemon. I can't believe what an amazing encounter we just had. Let's review that footage and get a little bit of background on this Pokemon.
Froslass is a ghost and ice-type Pokemon which evolves from a female Snorunt when exposed to a Dawnstone. It normally lives in snowy areas and has the ability to freeze its foes with its icy breath. It is said that at night, in the thick of a snowy blizzard, it comes down from the mountains and can be heard knocking on the doors of human homes. It is believed that Froslass was formed when the spirit and lingering regrets of a woman who was lost in the mountains possessed an icicle. I love this doll's face up and her mouth. While I know more intense makeup might have made her look a lot more ghostly, I made her according to my own subtle tastes, and I am looking forward to her joining my collection as a serene spirit or vampire girl. The main event when it comes to this project is the kimono, which I made with lots of love and meticulous care. I was determined to make the garment as high quality and accurate as possible, and I think the result is really nice. In fact, I am proud enough of my work that I have decided to put this entire outfit with all the accessories, including the kimono, liner, sleeves, shoes and socks, wig, veil, and also her eyes, up for auction. If you would like for your smart doll to cosplay Froslass, and or to have a formal furisode set for your dolls for various occasions, please check out the link to the eBay auction in the description below to place your bid and be the one to take home this set that I so lovingly made.
This has been so much fun. A little terrifying at times, I will admit, but it's been awesome. Thank you so much to Lavily and Kat for collaborating with me. Don't forget to hop over to their channels to see what they might have encountered on this ghost hunting endeavor.
Please check out all 3 of our ghost dark type Pokemon dolls that we made.
You're not gonna wanna miss this.
As always, I'd like to thank my patrons. Your support helps to make all of this doll magic possible. And if you like my Pokemon trainer hat that I'm wearing, which you might recognize from a previous Pokemon collaboration that I did with Dollightful and Doll Motion, you can actually purchase this hat if you'd like on my shop, which is thedollfairy.com. It's available now in pink and in black. Check out the link in my description below and use the discount code Froslass for 10% off your hat order. Thank you all for watching, everyone. I'll see you all again soon for more doll magic. Bye!